Hey everybody, how's it going? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is the Lovers. And Six of Cups. Okay. So the Lovers will bring a relationship into center focus. Having Six of Cups here, this can be sort of a time that feels particularly sweet, or it can feel nostalgic. This can be somebody that's currently in your life, or you may be thinking about somebody that was in your life. It can be like those types of things that are happening here. So yeah, the Lovers and Six of Cups, if you have somebody that you're close with, it can be a time that feels like sweet. It can feel nostalgic in a way presently. And so it can feel like there's more intimacy, or that you're feeling close, or that you're having like emotional exchanges with someone. If you don't have a particular person in your life that this is happening with in like present time, physically having them in front of you, it can be a time that there can be a reconnection that happens. And also, this can be a time when you may be thinking a lot about a person that you did have good times with. Okay, Nine of Cups, your heart being in this place, this can be something that you're craving, something that you're wanting very much. For those of you that you're not in a relationship, you can be becoming more and more interested in getting into a relationship or a partnership of some sort. For those of you that you already have somebody that you're connected with, this can be a time where you become even closer with them. It can be a time that feels deliberately emotional in a connected sort of way. Okay, we're seeing the Fool here. I don't know, maybe stuff is going to happen that hasn't really happened before. Maybe you're going to go somewhere with a partner that you've never gone before, go somewhere within a relationship that you've never gone before, even if this is just on an emotional level. I do feel like good feelings would bring this about, or a feeling of longing would bring this about. Feeling of openness, of I want to connect on this level, I want to be connected with another person on this level, I want to feel a sense of being close, I want to feel a sense of intimacy. Having the Fool here is sort of about what one is willing to do in order to sort of like make that possible, or have that become available to them. And also too, wanting it to be a nice time, wanting it to be a good time, not wanting this to be disruptive, wanting this to feel emotionally restorative. So this isn't a type of like intense tug of war. This is more so, I'm thinking about partnerships. I'm thinking about a specific person. I'm remembering things, or remembering a feeling presently. It's something that I would like to recreate or even expand upon. The Fool can be like a choice that's going to be made, or something that's going to be done that can feel okay. In some ways, the Fool card can be sometimes a little bit of a risk or a chance that we take, so it can be putting ourselves out there. In other ways, it can be allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It can be like making a move towards a person, or it can be making a suggestion of, I'm wanting to connect in this way. Would you also be up for that? With the Fool, I feel like there is an element of risk there, whether it be it's a risk to ask somebody something, or it's sort of taking a chance to see if something is possible. So either way, it can feel sort of like I'm taking this chance, and I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen if I do that, but I'm hoping that it works out, and maybe this is an opportunity where that can actually happen. And again, like I want this to be a feeling that is restorative emotionally and energetically and mentally for me and for my relationship or potential relationship. And it is a card too where you may be more willing to sort of go after what you want, having Nine of Cups and the Fool here. This can be you feeling into something, you tuning into something that you're wishing for, longing for, craving, wanting. And the Fool is about going about trying to sort of create a scenario where that can be possible. For some of you, you're going to be expressing what you want. So you can be telling a partner what you're thinking about and what you want to experience, communicating where you are with things. Vulnerability will definitely be a part of this. This can be potentially reaching out to another person and saying, hey, do you want to connect in this way with me? It can be exposing this to somebody that you already have things going on with and just like letting them know maybe even deeper where you are when it comes to what you're feeling. I do get the sense that this feels nostalgic for some reason. And I don't, like for some of you, this can definitely be somebody that you've already connected with. But for others of you, it can be sort of like a thing energetically that you want to create, even if it is potentially a new or different person that you're with. In the past, I wonder if there were certain things that you wanted that you could have felt couldn't be satisfied, like what you were looking to fulfill in maybe ways that you had done things before, but you can be developing or hypothesizing sort of new ways to connect with what you want. I'm seeing the Devil and I'm seeing the Hanged Man here, and what this can mean is like hanging up old ways that wouldn't actually get you what you were looking for or what you wanted, even though the Devil can be very convincing, like if you do things this way you're going to be satisfied, but then you don't really feel like it satisfies what you're looking for. So this can mean that if there are like certain ideas that you have or certain ways that you go about trying to find fulfillment, a sense of connection, intimacy, those things, but it never really panned out to looking like that or feeling like that for you, this can be a time when you surrender those old ways and you gain a deeper understanding for what you're actually looking for. Meaning, in the past, there could have been more surface level ways that you went about trying to get what you wanted, or saying it like that almost seems like there's something wrong with doing that. And I'm not meaning it like this. It can mean like you wanted intimacy in the past, or you wanted a sense of connection in the past, and there could have been more surface level ways that you tried to go about doing that, or could have like even sometimes maybe manipulated the energy, or maybe betrayed yourself, or maybe you just felt like you were trying to force something. This feels more so like there's I'm going to release some elements of control here to allow things to fall into place where I don't have to be like holding things together and then feeling like I'm forcing things and feeling like it's not naturally the way that I want it to be, and then feeling so dissatisfied like I have to force this in order to be what I want. This is going to be more of a time of like, I have an intention here and I know what I want. I'm going to take a risk or take a chance or be vulnerable and communicate and see how things can fall into place and actually become what I want them to be, what I'm hoping for them to be, what I'm craving to experience. So there's something really deep that's going on here. I do get the sense that in the past there was a time when you may have tried to make this happen but gone about it in a way where it didn't pan out to that. So that's why surrendering those ways of trying to control things and shift things around. It's like, too, if you want certain dynamics with another person, it can't be you being the mastermind behind everything, controlling what you're doing and what they're doing. It's like if you want that authenticity within a partnership, you do what you can, and you have to sort of allow the other side to do what they're doing and then see how things come together. And it will be a very different experience, and it will feel fulfilling because it feels authentic rather than this is only working because I manipulated things or I moved things around like that or I threatened this or whatever, or vice versa. It'll be more so like, wow, we want the same thing and this is something that's falling into place now. So it will feel true. Yeah. Note too that if that was something that you had done in the past, it's not like you're consciously doing that and knowing that it's not going to work if you do it that way. That can be like the way that we learned how to do things, you know? It can be like I watched people that were, as I was growing up, sort of manipulate each other into doing what they wanted, and that's how I thought relationships worked. It can be like those types of things. Or I was forced to have to control these things to work out in my favor, and so that ended up like translating to my interpersonal connections. It can be times like that, but then you realize that it only like breeds pain at the end of the day because it's not an authentic way to go about sort of securing these things that you want and being able to experience these things that you want. So I do get this sense of like respecting the nature and the natural unfolding of things and stepping into a position of co-creation rather you having like total control over everything. And sort of like forcing things to be what you want them to be, even when that isn't what's unfolding. So this will feel more like, wow, things just click and I don't have to go to these lengths to get them to click. It just actually works because these pieces go together. It'll feel like that. And that also means too that you won't be feeling that sense of anxiety about the future. You know when you're sort of forcing something together and you know that as soon as you stop forcing it together, it's basically gonna like fall apart. So then you know that you always have to be in that position holding things together, and if there's ever a time when you don't, like it's going to slip through your fingers, and then like anxiety and paranoia and everything else pops up because you know that something is being forced that doesn't fit that way. Because of releasing this sense of control and moving into a position of allowing, you like communicate from your side of things vulnerably and allow other things to fall into place. This is actually how you achieve what you want. And there won't be that feeling of I have to be at 100% holding these pieces together in order for this to work. You'll see that it effortlessly connects and binds, and that relationship is sort of like self-evolving in that way and sustainable. Because what was happening before, it wasn't sustainable. And you can even see too that would have came from a place of like wounding and pain in the past. And that was just a way that you knew how to do things at that time. Now is like a new way that you're learning how to do things. And I do get the sense of surrender and control being a big thing here. With patience too, because these are things that are falling into place in a sight that you are gaining now at this point. I'm seeing Six of Wands, which is things really working out for you, and it feels too like you are like there's something really big that's being healed, that's being recognized, where there's a surrendering that's happening. And I feel like the way that you experience your relationships are going to change in a big way, and I think that too your self-esteem will be impacted in a different way too, whereas before when you're like forcing things, you feel like naturally just an example, you could have felt like you had to maybe force things within a relationship before, maybe bend ways that weren't natural for you to bend, and that's the only way that you could get somebody to be with you. Now you can be in a position where you're like, wow, I'm releasing that total control. Putting myself in a position of co-creation, and I'm finding out that this works. I don't have to force things in order for them to go together and in order for it to work. Like, this person just naturally wants to be with me. So it can be like that type of thing that you experience, where you feel like you're actually showing up in a really genuine way. You are also being vulnerable too, in communicating how it is that you're feeling, and then allowing things to sort of like orbit around one another, and for the relationship to emerge in that way. And it really changes the way that you feel towards relationships, where it becomes more of like a dance that you do with another person, rather than you being like, you move here and I'm gonna move here, now you move over there, and then freaking out if that's not what happens, and then it being like a game of anxiety that you end up playing. And even though this isn't something that necessarily is going to change overnight, it feels like the change has already begun. So maybe you'll feel yourself at times, like with the person that you are connecting with or going to be connecting with, you'll find that sometimes you'll get that feeling of like the old ways popping up, where you may want to control something, where you may feel that tension start to build. And in those moments, there will be a recognition of what's happening, and then a releasing of going back into a position of co-creation. And so that will sort of be its own process that ends up happening. It's not necessarily going to be like, okay, I see that exactly, it's never going to happen again. This is more so going to be a process of, when that starts happening again, I will recognize that, and then like take that step back, and then keep doing that process as it happens. It's kind of like a titrating, or like a weaning off of this, of I'm adjusting to a new mindset and a new way of doing things. And you will find that this is really how you cultivate the type of relationship that you have been seeking to experience. What you will find too is that there will definitely be times when like wounding or old ways do rear themselves. And I think that this is also going to be a time that, when that happens, not being like, oh, I'm back at zero again. It's knowing that progress isn't linear, and that being something really important here to recognize. Because again, like, there will be those moments where maybe you're not so mindfully interacting within the connection, and the grip will tighten on things, and you'll get some of those feelings coming back. And what's going to happen is that there will be a process of, I'm recognizing what's happening, rather than before, where there was like no mindfulness or no awareness of this, and that's just how I was operating. There will be a different type of attunement that's happening, and so you will like slowly be reworking that and sort of like reframing that. And so it will no longer be something that then has that sense of power and control within the relationship, but it will be something that's more mindfully being done, and it will allow for an actual reciprocal relationship to be what's unfolding. As you are sort of coming to realize all of the elements of this, and where the genesis of that even began, because it will be triggered throughout the relationship. But that's also the point. One of the points of a relationship too is to be able to like unprogram that from yourself. And being in a relationship, working within your relationships, it will be sort of the perfect arena to see where you are and also where you're not, and doing that whole process. Be patient with yourself as you go through this. It's not going to feel necessarily constantly like a night and day thing. It can be sort of a gradient of like healing that's happening throughout this process, and understanding that's happening throughout the process. It feels like the biggest portion of this, which was the hardest thing to recognize, that the old way was not really going to procure what you wanted. not in a way that felt authentic to you. And so this like sort of new way that you're learning and finding your footing within, even though it's going to be a process and it's going to take time, this will be how you actually realize what you want, and how you will be sort of fertilizing the ground for that to materialize, your intention that you have and what you hope to experience. And before you know it, that is what you'll be working within. So yeah, just give this time for it to unfold. I think too that this is also learning how to trust yourself, when maybe before, based off of what you went through, you could have been like, I can't be in a relationship because I always like shift into this controlling mode or manipulating things or whatever. This is also about, it can be about self-forgiveness. It's about unlearning and relearning things. It's about patience and compassion with yourself and also with your partner too, because they're going through their own stuff, you know? So all of that stuff being involved here within this. Some of you too, I do feel like you may be taking a chance on a relationship. And this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of healing that happens and things becoming possible that you could have felt like weren't possible for you before, and now they actually are because of where you are with things. I want to say this again, with the Devil and Six of Wands, it shows that you have overcome something that was extremely difficult to overcome, having to do with your relationships, and a way that you may have moved through things before that you can look back at and be like, that was like really toxic of me, you know, or that was unhealthy of me, or that was coming from a really wounded place that now I'm getting a much deeper understanding of, that I don't have to move through a relationship like that in order to get things to be how I want them to be. There are other ways to do that. And so things just all around are going to feel better. But yeah, the Devil and Six of Wands feels like a really huge recognition of you being in a different place than you were in before, and that's really what makes it possible for things to be different now. And to keep that in mind too, even if you feel little things come up and you can be like, did I actually change, or is it just going to be the same? Just know that when these little moments come up, I'm seeing them be little moments that come up. And they can be feeling big at the time, sort of relative to being present in that moment, but it's not what was going on before, and that being something really important that I'm seeing here, and to recognize and to remind yourself of. It's sort of a different template that you're working with. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.